You're listening to
and such a short amount of time to do it in. We were really
a Mamma Mia podcast.
When you think of Stan Walker, you probably think of Australian Idol and that catchy song Black Box he released straight after he won it in 2009. How's this year been for you in New Zealand? It's been pretty good, yeah?
Yeah, very interesting. Definitely not what I expected, but I feel in a whole it's probably been one of the most exciting, life-changing years of my whole life, in a good way.
Stan was 18 when he started on Idol and 19 by the time he won it. And to most of us, he was just Stan Walker from Australian Idol, the boy who made it big. But what we didn't know, and what we wouldn't know until years later, was that there was so much more to Stan's story.
Nobody is born a rapist, nobody's born angry, nobody's born a racist, nobody's born a bigot.
From Mamma Mia, I'm Mia Friedman, and you're listening to No Filter, a weekly interview podcast with people who tell their stories very candidly and aren't afraid to be all kinds of vulnerable. At 30, Stan Walker is a survivor in more ways than one. And this is his story. Stan, when you were 12, you saw Guy Sebastian on TV and you wrote, "Little kids want to fly, they want to explore to the bottom of the ocean or go to the moon." For me, I wanted to sing like I saw Guy Sebastian sing on Australian Idol back in 2002 when I was 12 years old. What was 12-year-old Stan Walker's life like?
We lived in Hamilton, in Fairfield, in New Zealand at that time. It was an interesting time because I felt like for the first time I was discovering my gift as a singer, because I started singing at school. I went to audition for the choir, but there was a position to go as a lead singer in the rock band. So I went to sing, and the music teacher heard me sing, and she goes, "I want you to do the rock band." I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know what to expect. I then went to go sing, and she was blown away, and I sang in front of the school, and I was actually really not just shy, but there's a thing over here where we're like, oh, shame to try, shame to succeed, shame to fail, shame to stand out. Everything's just shame. There's no win situation. It's just shame. And anyway, so I got up and sang, and then everybody started going, "Wow, you're an amazing singer." Like they would ask me in the playground, like, "Can you sing?" So at that time, like I was like a naughty kid. Just because of our situations at home, I still experienced a lot of violence at home. And my life was not my own, but singing was. Singing was the only thing that was my own.
That's a really interesting way of putting it. You say your life was not your own. Do you mean because you were 12 and you went home and the environment that you lived in you had no control over and it was out of control?
Yeah, it was like a bit of both. It was very strict. We had a loving whānau, but my dad... it took him years from when he became a Christian, his life changed, to actually learn how to deal with his anger and not take it out on anybody, and learn how to be a father and a husband. That stuff I realized until later. It didn't happen overnight when we wanted things to change just like that. It took my dad a long time. Nonetheless, the stuff was still happening, but this time with a sorry, this time, like, "I'm so sorry for doing that. I love you." And we never had that before. It was just straight get beats, get left there or whatever, and then never hear anything. So,
what do you mean he'd leave you?
Back before he had his experience of God, there was no remorse, there was no sorry, there was no feelings. It was just anger and rage, and it was taken out on us anytime for no reason, for absolutely no reason, and he would walk away.
What's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory is I remember my mum getting smashed up in the wardrobe and just dragged and just been hit. And I remember just as a little kid, I would have been only about 2 or 3, but I remember that very clearly. The biggest memory, I think, to be honest, is when I watched my mum get beaten up outside my grandfather's batch with my grandfather and my uncle trying to stop him, and my mum just was getting like her head smashed against the walls and put her head inside this dog bowl, and my dad was just stomping on her head. And honest to God, would have been 2 or 3, but that's my earliest memories of that, of violence.
I mean, that's just horrific, utterly horrific. Would the police get involved? Would someone call the police?
Yeah, there'd be police coming around.
And what would they do?
I remember there was a couple of times my dad getting taken away in the police car. I don't even remember what the reasons were. It probably would have been from my grandfather ringing up the cops or somebody ringing up the cops to get my dad, whether it be for drugs or mainly for violence against my mum. I'm not too sure the reasons, but yeah, the cops, I remember the cops coming around a lot. At all costs, though, we avoided that. I think it was not so much to hide, it was also for protection, because when you told in the minds of men and even women like my dad how he was, it's like you wait until everything goes, you wait till I get back out, you're going to get it. My mum did the absolute best she could, given her situation, given our life and how stuck we were.
Are your parents still together?
Yeah, they're amazing. It's so funny, like when we talk about the book stuff or we talk about the past all the time, our whānau, we're very open. We laugh a lot because it's not a coping mechanism. We laugh because it just seems so unreal that we can't even fathom that that's who we were and that's what we were and how we lived. We've come a long way. Forgiveness has been the key in our whānau. We've loved each other, forgave our own selves, forgave each other, and that's been a big thing. We've had the most incredible journey of reconciliation within our family and forgiveness. But back then, it was a whole different story.
So when you were that little 12-year-old boy watching Guy Sebastian on Idol, what was he to you? What did he represent to you?
He represented the possibility of a dream becoming reality, if that makes sense. He represented not just a dream, but there was hope. It was possible that it could happen. And then it happened all those years later.
Of Australian Idol for 2009 is Stan Walker.
Well, that's a big plot jump. So from a 12-year-old boy who's getting his first bit of adulation being in the rock band at school to, at 18, being a contestant on Idol yourself, what happened over those 6 years to get you to that point?
I think a lot of breaking. So many times my voice was a savior for myself. I grew up where these words that we don't say now because we're a lot more educated in certain things that we cannot say because it actually really affects people. Nothing was off the table. We said every word under the sun, and that was like being nice, that was being mean, that was sarcastic, that was joking around. So we were brought up with some heavy, hurtful words constantly said over our lives. And for me, I had to battle with secrets of my past, of, abuse from home, from my dad, from my brothers, being bullied because the way that I act, being raped and molested and the effects of that and the confusions and the hurt and the anger and the hate for myself for such a long time and at such a young age. Like I look at young kids now and it breaks my heart to think that they would ever have to go through anything like I did. And because we moved around a lot, like I went to 11 different schools my whole upbringing. And in one way, it was awesome because I got to run away from that last school and change who I wanted to be for the next one. Like I would change personalities, I would change people, change stories. Eventually some of those stories started catching up on me, all the lies that I used to tell that I, honest to God, I didn't even realize I was telling lies after a while. You get so caught up in being a compulsive liar, you don't know the truth. So your truth is literally what you made up at the last time or what you can remember or what feels best to make you feel good. So,
What kind of lies did you tell?
Oh, just everything. Like literally, like I'd be hanging around with a group of like Samoan mates. I'm like, yeah, I'm Samoan. I hang with Māori. Oh yeah, I'm Māori. Oh yeah, I'm Cook Island. Oh yeah, my dad, blah, blah, blah. Like just make up stories to make myself feel good about myself. I was like, yeah, my nan's just going to give me a bike next week. Like just anything, every single day things like, oh yeah, act like I'm rich and found these clothes, but really I stole them. Just anything. Like I literally, everything that came out of my mouth was almost a lie and I didn't even know it.
But Stan, do you think that was also caught up with all the secrets you had to keep, like about the abuse, about your home situation? You almost didn't know what was real and what wasn't real.
I just had to protect myself, so I had to become something else. And even if I have to do that a million times over, I'll keep becoming that person. But, all to not be my actual self, which is like the sad thing, yeah, so I became so many different people, and I was such a broken, lost young boy. And I had never been taught ways or never had any examples to show me, to lead me. It was always forced. Like everything that I did, I had to do. And when I didn't do it, I'd get punished. There was no conversations growing up. We didn't talk about safe sex. We didn't talk about our body parts. We didn't talk about drinking. We didn't talk about drugs. It's just don't do it. Otherwise, you're going to get smashed. And obviously, if you're going to keep telling me don't do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to rebel and do it. Never got taught anything, never got taught about feelings, never got shown how to love, how to accept people, how to not be judgmental. We never got taught about racism. We never got taught about nothing. Like everything that has led our world to today and the issues we're fighting, we never had conversations about it. So I was on both ends of the stick. I was one getting accused, abused and bullied and beaten and everything. And then also that was my normal life, that I would just react in that way or do that anyway to everybody else. So it was a lose-lose situation.
Stan, how did you get out of it? Like, where were your role models? Like, you had no role models around you for how to behave, how to love, how to be in a relationship. Where did you find them?
Because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. You see, I was grounded most of my life, honestly. Like, I crack out about it now, but I was like, I actually was grounded most of my life. I wasn't allowed to go and stay at friend's house. I wasn't allowed to go stay anywhere. I never went to school camps. I never went to school activities. I never went to the discos. I went to like a couple of discos. I went to 2 formals. I went to 1 camp that I get sent home from, and I was like, okay, that's not going to really help my case. But like, I never did any of these things at school because I was naughty, and they just thought being naughty punish you, don't do anything. So I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. The only place I was allowed to go to was church and go to youth group. I hated going anywhere with my mum and dad. I didn't want to be around them. I didn't want to hang with them. I didn't want to associate anything.
Of course.
We met family of ours, in Tweed Heads. And I remember going with my mum and dad because I had no choice. I just had to go along. And they were doing an outreach. And it was all these young Maori, Aboriginal, Fijian, Islander, so many mixed races. They looked like they were my kind of people that I would hang out with. I was like, they look so cool. And they're like, oh, yo, come to church, come out, hang out with us. You know, if you want to, come have a feed, come have a sausage sizzle. And I was like, I just was attracted to how normal they looked from like my mum and dad and all the old people that I used to hang out with because of my mum and dad. And I was like, this actually looks cool. And I was like, man, I want to hang with them. And then anyway, my mate came over to me, or who became my best mate. They're like, oh, yeah, come hang out with us. And I was like talking to them, you know, shy as, and I'm sussing everybody out. I don't know nobody, so I'm sussing them out. And then next thing I know, my Uncle Pete goes, oh, why don't you let Stan come down here for next week for youth group? He can go with the boys and stuff. And they were like, okay.
This is your parents. This is before they were involved with the church.
No, this is while they're involved with the church. But so I was grounded all the time, so I was only allowed to go to church. So I wasn't allowed to go to like after rugby events or like with my league team.
But they were okay with you doing church group stuff.
But this was my choice. I had the first time within the confinements of just go to church. I got to make this choice of where I wanted to go. And I went and I started hanging out with like my youth pastor and all these young men who were like passionate about God, and they were cool guys. They were all like surfies. They did road trips, and I'm like, well, I've never heard of these kind of things. Like, you know, you go and hang out and surf and do road trips. So I was like, I thought that's stuff that people do on movies. I'm like, you know, so it was new for me. Started hanging out with them, and then they just did life with me, and they would come and pick me up from work, and they'd hang out, and I'm like, I'm buzzing out going, what are you guys doing here? They're like, oh, we just came to hang. And I was like, really? They're like, yeah. I was like, so you drove like an hour to come and pick me up from work to just hang? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, wow, okay. So they started being the first examples for me of like just everything that I've ever wanted to be free, to be loved, to live my life, to forgive, all of these things that I'd never experienced in my life. They were showing me by example. They were living and leading by example. And then because of that, one of my mates said to me, he was talking about how he got abused, sexually abused, and how he felt and how it stuffed him up. And I'm sitting there, my heart's pounding because I never told a soul about what had happened to me. And he's like, yeah, I was, molested and raped. And so then I became like this and that. And I went sleeping around to try and think, but it stuffed me up. And I was just like, and I told him, first person I had told him my whole life. And honest to God, it was like in that moment, I felt what it felt like for the first time to be free. And man, it was just like, wow, it just opened up everything. It was like a physical, spiritual, mental, emotional experience that I cannot even begin to even tell you. It's something that far out.
When your parents joined the church and things calmed down at home, did you feel then that you could tell them what had happened to you, or was it still happening?
No, because it happened when my mum and dad were in church. It happened at home, and it was by my cousin, but they didn't know anything. I just was always fearful because the trauma of just being brought up with a dad that I was brought up with, that trauma for me was, if I tell him, he's going to blame me or not believe me and give me a hiding. So I just lived with the fear. And then when I started going to the youth group after hanging with these boys, I went home and I told them, and they freaked out. They freaked out, and my dad just lost it. And he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I was like, "I couldn't tell you." He goes, "Why didn't you tell me?" And they just broke down. My mum, my whole family just lost it. Yeah, it's a hard thing because you still, even after years and your dad has changed, it's just like him having to learn how to, for the first time, know how to love, for the first time, know how to be a father, for the first time, know how to be a husband. We had to learn for the first time he's not going to be evil to us.
Yeah.
So that we lived with fear even for years after. I'd still get hidings, but it would be just, we would live with that fear that if he stuffed up once, it's like, see, you're the same person. Because that's trauma, eh?
Of course, you didn't trust it.
Yeah.
When you told them and they broke down, did you feel seen?
Oh, yeah. Because I had told my mum asked me when I was 12 years old, 11 years old, she said to me, just because me being the kind of person I was, quiet and even acting feminine, she asked me one time, are you gay? And this was as a little kid, and I lost my shit. I lost it. And I remember saying to her, you remember when you asked me, I was like, do you know why I got so angry is because you didn't even know what had happened and I didn't even know what the hell I was. I used to think I was a creature, that I was an abomination. I was like, why do I feel like how I feel? Why am I like how I am? And so I said to her at that point, I didn't know what the hell I was. I don't know if I was supposed to be born a boy, a girl, if I wasn't supposed to be born. Why am I like this? Why do I feel like this? And why is it my fault? Why did that happen to me? Why did I, and then at the same time blame myself. It's my fault why this happened. It was a big thing, but I felt very when I told my parents, because I was free and it wasn't for them to give me permission to be free. To be honest, even the whole process or the whole healing of that, it's me giving permission and also forgiveness to my mum and dad, because as a parent, they blamed themselves because they couldn't protect me. So it's like I have the permission slips to everybody to give, whether you can be free, you can be forgiven. It is not your fault.
That must have made you feel quite powerful to be able to be the one to bestow forgiveness.
Yes, from being the most powerless person and the lowest person and living with all the shame and secrecy and pain and confusion, now I am the most powerful person because I have nothing to hide or fear.
And what happens when your abusers are still in your family?
It's intergenerational stuff. Nobody is born a rapist. Nobody's born angry. Nobody's born a racist. Nobody's born a bigot. Nobody's born any of these things. It is all taught. It is all taught behavior. Everything has a history. Every action has a history to why that action happened, to why this breakdown happened, to why this fight happened. And it needs to stop, and it's going to be hard. It ain't going to be pretty. I'm already seeing some stuff where people are breaking free. They're finding their freedom in their voices, but also other people, it's exposing them.
Stan, the tattoo on your neck, what does it say?
It says Atahua. This was the first tattoo I ever got. I was doing Idol, and I was having a baby. We were having a girl, and I named her Atahua before she was born. Atahua means beautiful in Māori. And it was during the top 100. I just made it to the top 24 and I came back, and then I found out that my ex had miscarried. We'd lost the baby. So, yeah, that's even a trippy thing. My daughter would have been 11 in September this year.
You were only 18. Had you been with your girlfriend for a while? You wrote in the book that she had a few miscarriages.
Yeah, we were together for like 2 years, I think. I'm not too sure.
Were you trying to have a baby?
No, I didn't even know. That's the thing, like, we didn't know about safe sex stuff, and we kind of didn't care, and it was just like, we weren't trying to, but...
You didn't know about contraception?
No, we did, but I didn't even know how to use it, and I didn't like it.
Wow.
I lost my virginity to her.
And did you think about the consequences of that and what could happen if she got pregnant?
Nah, I've never been scared that ever at any point in my life if I'm going to have a baby. I've never been scared of that. I've always like welcomed, if it happens, it happens. Like I've always just been like that, especially when it comes to babies and kids. I've always wanted to have heaps of kids. And then you get them. Oh, jeez. The reality is different, isn't it?
Sure is. You wrote about how part of your storyline on Idol was that you were going to be a teen dad.
Yeah.
What's the behind the scenes like in terms of storylines? And you talk about reality TV as being both a marathon and a sprint. What's it like in the house and when the show's not filming?
When the show's not filming, it's cool. Like you develop so many cool relationships with the other people that are on Idol, the crew. Such a cool experience. For me, I just had the best time of my life. Like I had the most incredible fun time ever. I was like only working part-time, getting like jack all money. And then here I am getting $600 a week to stay in a 5-story mansion to do all these cool things. And I'm like, let's go. This is on.
What were some of the things that you couldn't believe about living in the house and being on the show?
We had a chef and we got to like do a shopping list of whatever food we wanted. And the dumbest thing is, but for me back then, now they said you can have anything on the list. And I was like, okay. So I got everything that I never ever had growing up as a kid. Cocoa Pops, Nutri-Grain, Honey Puffs, Dunkaroos, Roll-Ups, Lee Snacks, like everything. I was like, man, I'm going, that for me was like, I've cracked it. I've made it.
All of those 90s sort of snacks and foods that you dream about as a
Yes.
kid but you never got to have.
I know, and I was like living my best life. I was like, yeah, I got my Lee Slacks and roll-ups, and I'm going to drink milk out of the fridge like I'm going to have a glass of milk.
Was that a big deal, drinking a glass of milk?
Oh, yeah, 100%. We used to get hiding so if we got caught having a drink of the milk.
Why? What was the milk for?
Well, the milk was only for breakfast and cup of teas. That was it.
Because it was expensive.
And then we used to have powdered milk as well. Yep. So if we had a milk, man, it was like, whew.
So in terms of the shame that you used to experience around singing, when did that shift? Was it when you joined the band, like the process of getting accepted to the next stage and the next stage of Idol? Did your confidence grow or was your insecurity growing in terms of imposter syndrome?
I was so shy. Like, I was so shy. I love singing. Don't get me wrong. Inside of me, there was this little, like, rearing, like, go, just sing. But then there was other people like, no, don't put yourself out there. Don't. Now I'm, like, a way opposite to the person that I used to stand there and, like, tap my leg and stuff like that and do a little uncle dance. I don't know, like, just weird stuff. But now I couldn't even imagine being that person. Like, I'm just so alive. It's like that little untamed stallion that was living inside of me is now always ready to go when it comes to being on stage.
It's like they say that everyone has something that they feel most themselves doing. And for you, that's singing.
Yeah, it's like when I get on there, I become a different creature. I become my ultimate self. And now it's changing because it's not just singing. Like singing used to be my be-all. But for me now, doing this book, where I'm at in my life now, it's not my be-all. It will always be part of who I am, but not be the part of who I am.
Tell me about the night you won.
Debut single, the winner of Australian Idol 2009, singing his debut single, Black Box, Stan Walker.
Oh, that was so exciting. Far out. That was just the actual best. Like we had over 300 of my family members there, and it was hot. It was like 45 degrees. It was disgustingly hot, and it just was like, it happened so quick. Like I remember it, but it just happened so quick, and I just couldn't believe that I won. Like I actually won, and The best part for me was after the moment they called my name, and then I saw all my whānau just do a haka. That for me. And when I was singing, they could see in me then that when I won, they won. And they could see what God was doing in my life then, that anything was possible.
You were still just 18, or were you 19 by then?
I just turned 19 in the show, yeah.
So from your upbringing, everything was new to you. I think it would probably be fair to describe you as pretty naive to the ways of the world and the ways of business and record companies and contracts and TV producers. How did you navigate that next phase without being completely taken advantage of?
Yeah, I went so fresh and green, but also as stubborn as hell. Like, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. And so even during the show, I would have arguments with the producer because I'm not doing this. And they're like, oh, this is all you got. I was like, but I don't want to do that. That's not me. I wouldn't do it like that. So even with the arrangements, I would do it how I want to. So I've always been like that. I learned though after Idol that that's where the real hard work was going to happen, and that I had to learn how to compromise to the point that I compromised my happiness over everything for success. For me now, success is happiness, and I don't really care how much money I've got. I mean, I love money, don't get me wrong. I want to be rich, I want to have heaps of money. But if it's not making me, my soul, my family happy, then I've got to stop it.
What doesn't make you happy? What compromises that happiness, or what compromised it back then?
I think the fact that I had to just become something that the industry at that time, especially in Australia, I was coming in fresh as a young, brown Māori boy from New Zealand that had a very strong New Zealand accent. And I was told things like, you know, you need to go to speech therapy. We're going to take you thing. We can't understand the word you're saying. You sound too brown or too dumb, or like, you know, you look too thin. Can you cut your hair? Can you grow your hair? Like just things about my image and how I was.
You had a rat's tail, didn't you?
Yeah, and they're like, you are definitely not going on the stage. But then I was like, why?
With a rat's tail.
Just like little things like that. And I didn't realize until later because I was just like, oh, okay, you know, like I didn't want to cut it. But it's the fact that everything of like who I was, they were slowly cutting it off piece by piece, cutting me out piece by piece. To the point that I remember looking at myself one day, looking at what I was wearing, how I was talking, and I was like, who the frick am I?
How did they want to dress you? How did they want to portray you?
It's little things like, don't do this, don't wear that. No, you look fat, you look thin, you do this. Oh, you shouldn't be wearing that. You can't be wearing glasses like that on TV. You can't be saying words like that. It's not just my image. They're trying to cut off my core values and my foundation, and even the words that I would use and what I wanted to speak about, what I was passionate about. I've always been passionate about my people. I've been passionate about Pacifica, Indigenous people. That's my drive. And it's not that I don't care about anybody else, but that is my passion. You could be passionate about making bags for, I don't know, homeless people, or making guitars. My passion is to serve my people, is to see my people set free, is to raise up the next generation so that they will never have to go through anything of what I went through, what my parents went through, my parents' parents, so on and so forth. And they would try and take that away, and they're like, oh, you know, forget about those little brown people. Like, you're not like them. You're not like them. And I was like,
who's they?
Oh, a lot of people. There's a lot of people. It's people that were in the industry when I first started. It has changed a hell of a lot. It still needs to change a hell of a lot, to be honest. But when we came in, like, it was just so normal to joke about things that were racist and hurtful to people like me, or to people like Indigenous First Nation Australians. It was hurtful to people of colour. It was hurtful to people of like size. It was hurtful that my hair, my natural hair that I inherited from my grandfather wasn't good enough. I wasn't sellable.
What was wrong with your hair, apart from the rat's tail?
No, I got an afro.
Which is questionable. Oh, you had an afro. An afro I'm down with. The rat's tail, we're going to have to disagree on the rat's tail. I'm not fighting for your right to have a rat's tail. I'm sorry.
Take that one.
Yeah, that's right. So all of the things that made you who you were and were endemic to your culture.
Literally who I was.
Yeah.
That's who I was.
Stan, did they tell you not to talk about God?
Yes, there would be times that they're like, you shouldn't mention it too much.
Don't mention Jesus.
Yeah. Like, everybody's all right saying God, because that can be universal, but when you say Jesus, it's offensive. And I'm like, well, you're offensive just the way what you're talking to me about. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I can't talk about what I believe in and what I'm passionate about, what makes me me. People ask me, why are you like how you are? How did you get this far? Well, Jesus. And they're like, oh, so, but you must have worked. And I was just like, yeah, but I would have died many times. But anyway, okay, like, just.
Best we not talk about that.
And I'm not going on there to be like a woman. This is what I'm not trying to preach at people. I try and show the best is through my life, that He would shine through my life and heal people. The only reason why I'm doing this to still today is because God has showed me. He showed me, and I'm living it right now.
You wrote about how there was speculation after you won Idol at some points that maybe you were gay. Did they try to encourage you to have public romances or date other celebrities?
Oh yeah, I've had everything said about me. Honest thought, everything. Like, it doesn't matter. The only time I get like pissed off was when people like just actually just like wrong. Like, I don't care. You can call me like, oh, you fat thing, you homo, you're gay, oh, you're all this and blah, blah, blah. You're like, I've been called everything. Like, literally, I've like anything that has ever been said. I think I've had it all. I've been dead. I've been on crack. I was a fraud.
Yeah, when you had your stomach removed, tell me about that. You discovered that you've got a cancer gene that runs through your family that causes stomach cancer in every generation. Did you have the genetic test or did you develop the cancer?
Oh, so I had the test when I was young. I think I was like 14 or 15. And then I found out that I had cancer because my mum had cancer. She had breast cancer, which is lobular, which is the result of our stomach cancer. It can activate in a woman's breast. So she got breast cancer and she was in the middle of her, healing and going through the process. She went to Peter McAllister Centre in Melbourne, Peter Mac. It's a cancer facility, research centre, cancer hospital. It's everything. It's like top dog, like Lash Gold. It's neck left. She went there and she met these doctors and then they started talking to her about blah, blah, blah. They knew our family, they knew the gene and they specialise in that and they know about Dr. Perry who found the gene in our family and blah, blah, blah. Basically, they've got the best equipment and in the world, like they're the best in the world. And my mum's like, oh, Stanley, I found this thing. You got to come in and get your test done because I was pretty late, like maybe a year late on my test. And I was like, oh, no, I kept on putting it off because I was like, you're wasting my time, Mum. I've got to work and I don't have to fly over there and get a test and then fly back. Anyway, I ended up going to get a test and long story short, found out that I had cancer. Thank the Lord for my mum.
Hustling you.
Like, literally. And I was telling her, like, it's annoying. And then I found out that I had cancer. And I was just like, lucky mummy.
Lucky you listened to your mum.
Yeah, I know. So then, I got my stomach out because basically I died.
Yeah, I've got a friend who had the same gene and had the same operation. And people are always shocked to learn that you can live without a stomach.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I'm like, skinny.
People speculated that you were on drugs, right? Because you lost a whole lot of weight.
Yeah. Like, I even was losing like sponsorship deals and people getting scared and getting told, we're going to have to let Stan go because they saw a Snapchat of me like having a drink because I just got out of a recovery and I'm not allowed to even have a drink or have a party with my friends. And we've seen that and, we've been hearing that he's been on drugs and stuff like that. I was like, I feel like doing all that stuff now just to piss everybody off.
So you had to go public?
No, because I was already filming the documentary. I was filming the documentary before I even had my operation. I just said to my family, just sit there. Don't worry. It's all good. But like there were forums made to boycott me, to stop my music from selling. People were putting up photos and videos of like them smashing my CDs, like what a disgusting human being he is. And I was like, oh, here we go. And like all this stuff and they were just coming for me and like, I was just like, wow. And then also I seen a lot of true colors from a lot of people, just wanting the scoop of the story, but not actually checking up on me. Companies that I was working with, they're like, oh, has Stan recovered yet? We thought he would have recovered by now because we need him to come back to this thing. And like it just showed the humanness of everybody. And I was like, wow.
Can you make enough money as an Idol winner to support yourself?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Are you super rich?
I'm rich. Nah, not super rich, but I've done good for myself. I spent a lot of years spending a lot of money.
Yeah, when you've not had money before, is it hard to know what to do with big amounts of it when they suddenly come your way?
Yeah, I've just never had a fear for it, but now I do, because now it's not like I have a fear for it. It's having a respect for it that, it doesn't run me, it doesn't own me, but I want to be a successful business person and a businessman that I need to invest my money, need to save my money. I'm just even blessed, like, me and my partner, we got 3 homes, which is like incredible. Like I just turned 30.
So you're living pretty large.
Like, no, that's not large. It's just, I'm just thankful that I've been able to work and have the jobs that I've had.
That's fantastic.
And I tell you now, I've worked my ass off to even get to any point that I think, and anybody that can say anything they want about me, but nobody will ever call me lazy or useless or that I don't work hard, because I've worked myself to the bone.
Stan, where does without asking for actual amounts, it's obviously a really challenging time for artists and anyone in any sort of creative industries. We don't know when concerts are going to be happening again. What are the different revenue streams as an artist that you're able to access?
I mean, we've all had to adapt real quick, because, this is the world that unfortunately the whole world has lived in together. Being in the creative industry as an artist, definitely lost a lot of money from this year and going into next year, just with gigs wise and ambassadorships, especially overseas stuff. And saying that, I've been able to pick up so many different things online, and being in New Zealand, we've had the luxury of already going on tour. I've already been on a tour and I'm about to go on another tour.
So venues are open again.
Venues are open again. Concerts are happening. And then also just finding other ways to make money, especially creatively. Like, I don't want to just do it all singing. It's not fulfilling like it used to be. It's not my be-all.
How else creatively do you do it?
Telling stories through film, through video clips, for online stuff, even through doing the book. That's another creative outlet for me. Like doing documentaries. Like, I love doing stuff. And me and my partner, it's so good because we don't ever have to compete or compare in what we do.
What does she do?
Her trade, she's an accountant, but she worked in HR for Māori Televisions, the big company. She was an HR partner, and now she's a comms manager under the CEO for her tribe, for where she's from.
And she's got kids, right?
Yeah, got a big boy.
Are you going to have kids together, do you think?
Oh, 100%, 100%. But yeah, I'm blessed to inherit this beautiful boy, and he's such an incredible little big thing. He's a big thing.
And you're teaching him how to be a good man.
Hopefully. Oh, well, he's going to be better than I am anyway, 100%.
You can buy Stan's book, Impossible, My Story, at any good bookstore. It is an incredible read. He's an incredible guy. What an interesting conversation that was. He's got the most beautiful, gentle energy about him, and he's able to talk so eloquently. And I don't know, this podcast is all about being candid and being vulnerable. And if you look up candid and vulnerable in the dictionary, I think you probably get Stan Walker. We'll put the link to his book in the show notes. And I'm so excited to tell you about a very new podcast that we have, which has just launched. It's called What I Eat When, and it's hosted by Sylvia Koloka. There has never been a voice more incredible to listen to than hers. She is an actress and a chef. She has written cookbooks. And in each episode, she's joined by a guest to talk about what they eat when and why. Because every meal tells a story. So it's a podcast about meals and food and memories and stories. You don't have to be into cooking to enjoy it. It's just a beautiful storytelling podcast, really. You can listen to the first episode with Jessica Rowe, who, gosh, she's bonkers. I love her so much. She matches her hats with her meals. She hates cooking. And so to cheer herself up, she tries to match her hat with her meals. So like if she's cooking chicken, she's got like a chicken hat. You've got to listen. It's heaven. You can get this podcast now wherever you get your podcasts. This episode was produced by Leah Porges. The executive producer of No Filter is Elissa Ratliff, and I'm Mia Friedman. I'll see you on mamamia.com.au.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.